You just kind of start doing it, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Nike hit it on the head when it was just like, you just do it,
Exactly.
like that's what it comes down to. So I think that's actually really, really important. That's why I just want to take a moment there to really highlight is that the first video you did is the first video that you ultimately ended up posting. Is that correct?
100%. Yes.
So it was like it was gonna it is what it is. It
Yeah.
was just gonna be what it was.
Yeah.
It was just like, it might seem like shit. My camera might be wobbly. My audio might be off. But you know what? Screw it. The hell with it. So I'm putting it out there.
For freshly brewed discussion on automotive sales and marketing, this is Coffee with Jason. The Coffee with Jason podcast is sponsored by Closer's Coffee. For that full-bodied, rich, sweet flavor with a bright acidity, drink Closer's Coffee, stay caffeinated, and keep on closing. Find out more at closerscoffee.ca.
So Jeff, a.k.a. General Motors Jeff, thank you for taking the time to come jam with me. I really, really appreciate it. We've been trying to do this for a while, so it's really cool. Finally getting here.
We have. I'm excited to be here. We've been getting back and forth on LinkedIn. This is the first time we actually had a chance to talk. So
I know.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
No, thanks, Jeff. Hey, so for everybody out there that don't know who General Motor Jeff is, kind of give it that 2-minute origin story that is Jeff Hunter, aka General Motors Jeff.
It's interesting because my background is actually power sports. So retail has always been in my life. Power sports was where my background came from. My father owned a Yamaha dealership in our small community of Sault Ste. Marie, or small city of Sault Ste. Marie. And so that's kind of where I got my ability to talk to people and all that kind of stuff. And some things happened, and I ended up going and needing to go get another job. And I figured, auto is something else I was interested in, just not on the same level that I was in power sports. And so I gravitated over to the automotive side, which I'm absolutely infatuated with now. So that's how that started.
And how long have you been on the automotive side?
6 years this month, actually.
Okay, so we're not talking a crazy long time. I mean,
no.
I would say kind of on average for people that have kind of been in the business, even though it sounds like motorsports and just engines and gasoline just kind of pumping through your through your blood for a very long time. So that's cool.
Sure. But I will tell you this, and I'll tell you that, a lot of people say, they've come in and say, what you're doing in the cars, it must be the same thing. It is not the same thing as power sports at all. It's not different clientele. Everything is different about it. So but it's interesting, obviously. So
it is. And I think what really is been very cool is what you've been able to do kind of through your social and your content efforts. And, the one thing, and I'm trying to think exactly, Jeff, when you probably popped up on my radar, I bet you it's probably over 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that about when it really kind of started for you? Was it earlier than that, or?
No, actually, no. I think I really started my Facebook page just a little over a year and a half ago, and really started getting more aggressive in LinkedIn, probably a few months after that, So I've had a LinkedIn account for quite a while, but never actually did anything with it until the last little while. So, but yeah.
So you've been in sales for 6 years, and you've really, for the last 18 months or so, right, you've been making this commitment to being social. Now, how did that, did just a light bulb go off one day, or you're like, I'm just kind of curious, how did that kind of get started? How did that itch begin?
So, yeah, it's an interesting story because, as I mentioned, I was working in the power sports dealership for my father, and he was running the day to day. So I was trying to think of ways to make the business more successful. So literally about 9 years ago, at least, I created a Facebook page for that business. And it was really before anybody started doing any of that kind of stuff whatsoever. And it was interesting because I got the attention of Power Sports Business. It's like a Power Sports magazine, of course. And they published me in there talking about how I was doing it. And at the time, Harley Davidson was just starting to think about getting into it. So I had calls from Arkansas, Harley Davidson. I'm sitting at my dad's dealership in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada. All of a sudden, I pick up the phone talking to some person from Arkansas. Yeah, we see you how are you doing this and how are you doing that? So my interest in it was always there. Now, what was interesting is when I went to the automotive side, I'll be honest, because it was so much different, I didn't have the confidence. So, getting to know the product, getting to know the sales routines, getting to know all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of focused all on that, right? I mean, trying to know everything that I'm trying to learn. And you tell General Motors, how many, the line is 4 lines, and then you have
exactly
that. So it got a bit overwhelming. So I think that I put that on the back burner for a while, and probably about 3 years ago, I started thinking about it, but again, I just wasn't that confident. We have a guy at our dealership. His name is Trevor Seabrook. I got to give him a little bit of a shout out because he works upstairs in the dealership. He does a lot of our different digital stuff. But he's an IT guy. He's a business guy, and he's the one that kept putting my bug in me. Man, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this. And I think the one thing he said to me one day is, you got to do this now, because if you do it now, you're that much further ahead of the game than everybody else, right? I think you probably talked about this in your podcast before, and I know you have. But if you're not getting on the ground floor now, good luck trying to get in later, right? It's going to cost you a ton of money to do it, and you're already lost in the sea of everybody else that's doing it, right? So that's kind of where it started from, and just one day I said, you know what, screw it, I'm going out. I took a 2018 Traverse when they first came out, the brand new model, did a little bit of a walk around, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't want to show anybody, I didn't want anybody to see it, and I posted it, and I got a lot of good feedback from it. So I'm like, wow, all right, this is something that's kind of cool. Like, that was my biggest fear, right? And I think we hear this from everybody is, I don't want to start because, or they don't want to start because they're scared of what people are going to say or how they're going to look at them. And that was definitely the thing that held me back. I mean, I'm not concerned. Like, you just kind of
start doing it, right? It's
exactly.
Nike hit it on the head when it was just like, you just do it, like that's what it comes down to. So I think that's actually really, really important. That's why I just want to take a moment there to really highlight is that the first video you did is the first video that you ultimately ended up posting. Is that correct?
100%. Yes.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It was just going to be what it was. It was just like, it might seem like shit. My camera might be wobbly. My audio might be off, but you know what? Screw it. The hell with it. So I'm putting it out there. So you post the first piece, what happens?
Again, I think I got some good feedback. I got way more views than I expected. And so my confidence went up from there, right? Because, like you said, maybe the sound wasn't right. Maybe, I stumbled over a word here or there, whatever it was. But I think that worked for me because then I'm natural. I'm not this scripted, edited commercial basically that's being thrown out there. I'm Jeff Hunter. I'm a real guy. I'm just like everybody else, and I make mistakes, and I'm grounded and whatever all else, right? So that's basically what made me take off from there, because I was really shocked and surprised that people said, "Hey, this is good. You're doing good." I'm like, "Oh, really? Wow, okay." So it was more like I needed that pat on the back sort of thing to get moving, right? And that's what it was. So.
That's awesome. And I mean, pretty much from there, it was just like wildfire. I mean, you just didn't really stop at that point. It just kind of now. How did you kind of keep the momentum up? Because here's what I do see, and I'm sure you've probably seen it too, is a salesperson will start. They'll put a video out there. They might gain a little bit of traction. And then there's just no consistency. There's no follow-up. What did that kind of look for you after the first piece, like the first couple months? What did that look like for you?
Yeah. So, again, I have to give credit to my buddy Trevor that I worked with, because he was like, listen, you either commit or you don't do it at all. That in between is actually almost worse than not even doing it all.
It kind of sounds like he was a little bit of a personal trainer for you.
Honestly, yeah.
Like kind of like pushing you, like, man, you got to get in there. You got to get your reps done. You got to get your routine in.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was great. And, I have to give a lot of credit to him for certain things that, places I would have made mistakes, but going back, yeah, I think that, it was just a matter of being consistent and continually doing it. And like I said, he pushed me to be that way. So exactly like you say, and that's the biggest mistake I see my fellow salespeople doing, is they do it and then they stop. And like I said, it's the worst thing you can do, because now you're just kind of floating out there in social media cyberspace or whatever, and people going like, well, he hasn't updated this in 3 months or whatever. I think that's almost worse than not even having your name out there, almost. You know what I mean? To a certain
no. It's like either you're in or you're out. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't just dip your toe in the pool of social media and then just assume that you're going to be able to bounce back into it 6 months later. And I think because you're right, because the customer is also looking for it. They're looking for your commitment as far as the social media goes, right? Like
going back, sorry to interrupt, and going back at what I wanted to say was, that I think that the salespeople that I've seen try and do it is they're expecting immediate gratification from it, right? So they're expecting the followers just to all of a sudden just flock to them. They're expecting that sales are immediately going to come in. I've been doing this for just over a year and a half, and it's only been the last few months where I'm really starting to actually visually see the fruits of my labor coming back, because when I'm on social media, you'll notice this, I'm not actually selling, right? So I'm not doing that, throwing an ad out. Here's this car at the price on my Facebook. It's about developing a community. And I just think that people don't want to, don't maybe have the patience to wait and for that to actually come to fruition, right? That's what I'm noticing.
Well, I think what either, like I said, knowingly or unknowingly, what kind of was is that you were putting content out there, not necessarily just in your benefit, but kind of the original goal was to educate.
Right.
So you started to educate people. And then I started to notice at one point in time, you kind of went from educate and you started to entertain. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's kind of when things really started to kind of pop, and engagement and views and everything was just kind of went up.
Yeah. And I think like anything else, you just have to mix it up. There's times where I'm serious about talking about something. There's times like today I posted on, I don't know if it's probably hasn't seen, but I posted on my Facebook what I use my heated seats for in my GMC Acadia. And it's
I saw that. Yes. Oh no. I saw the massage seats in the Escalade. That was the last one I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, today I did a little one, and I posted on there about what do I use my heated seats for? And I pan over and I'm using the heated seats for my pizza, or the heated seats for my pizza, right? So like, it's just little things like that, but it gets people sharing, gets people talking, and yeah, I try and be as creative as I can, trying to think out the box, trying to differentiate myself from everybody. That's the whole idea.
So I think we kind of highlighted a few great points here, right? Yep. First one, you just got to do it. You just got to freaking do it. Like it is what it is. Just
press the red button, like you say.
Yeah, press the red button and just get started, right? Second part is, for salespeople out there, you guys got to make a routine out of this. You can't just assume that you're going to do it once and then a few weeks later do another one, and then a month later do another one. Like you really have to create a routine. Now, what did that routine look for you? Approximately how many pieces of content, were you putting out, in those early days versus how many pieces of content you're putting out today?
Yeah, I think that was my one mistake, was that I would do something, and then although I was remaining consistent in terms of I was always kind of updating, it wasn't on a daily basis necessarily, right? Yep. Now if I don't make at least 2 posts a day on my Facebook, for an example, I'm kind of getting like anxious. I'm getting a little sick, right? Like, I feel like I've got to get something out there. I've got to get creative. I got to do something. And you know what? The hard part in Sault Ste. Marie is I love to do it on vehicles, as you see. Well, guess what? We're buried in about 8,000 feet of snow here this year. So like I was going a bit stir crazy. I'm excited for the spring because it's giving me a whole bunch of creative ideas of things to do. But usually two, if not 3 times a day, I try and have something on there. So something consistent that way.
So look, you just did it. You created the routine. You're getting up there 2-3 times a day where you're posting. All right. The content itself is educating and entertaining. I'm thinking to myself, actually, I can't remember if I've seen any pieces, or maybe just a few pieces, right? You actually ever measured payment or price?
Never.
I know. Okay. So it's actually never. Like, I'm just trying to think. I can't remember a piece. So I think that's also really key here too, is, I see salespeople out there and I see them trying to put content together, and it's like, well, yeah, you can lease this for $69 weekly, but that message, that story has already been beaten over your head by the manufacturer. It's just a total waste of time. Okay. So you feel the same way.
Yeah. I think the dealerships are making the same mistake as well. Like, Facebook is a place for community, and that's how again, I've been taught this. This isn't something that came naturally to me because I wasn't, I probably would have done that same mistake. I would have advertised like, hey man, we got this great Mazda 3 and used Mazda 3 and it's a smoking deal, or, we have 0% on our trucks now. And that's great to get out there, but there's a different avenue for that, right? And this, it's Facebook ads. So we created Facebook ads for that kind of stuff, but because, like you say, the people that you want to keep continually following you, you want them to follow you because of from the entertainment value, the educational value. Constantly slamming sales in their face that they're getting in the mail or on TV or on the radio, anyways, does you more harm than good, as far as I'm concerned, anyways, on Facebook. So. No, you're 100% right. So, I mean, look, so far we talked about, how to create the content, right? From just getting started to making sure that you have a routine, to the frequency that you guys are putting content out there, and then of course, making sure that the content is sticky in the sense that it's actually brings some value, to the consumer that would actually be consuming it. And I think that you do a great thing with your content is that the value you're trying to bring is not necessarily in your benefit as much as the people that are going to be consuming its benefit, right? So you really kind of make it for the audience. You educate, you entertain.
Now, I think the next step is the one, that's just making the content, right? There's about 5 or
Yeah.
7 steps just to do that. But now, once the content is then updated and it's on there, here's the next piece where I see a lot of salespeople start to fall off. They don't freaking engage.
Yes, that's true.
Like, I hate to say it, but we're in an industry that we're like the most antisocial social people like in the entire world. Like we'll post all this crap out there, but then not respond to anybody or thank them for their engagement of any kind. But that's not been the case with you. You've always been really consistent with this.
Yeah, I absolutely make a point of that. And you know why I make a point of that? Because when I looked up to guys like yourself or Sean Hayes or an Alan Dickey or those guys, they responded to me, right? And it's so, and that's from that perspective. That's just from the salesman perspective. But as far as clients, of course, I mean, they're commenting on there for a reason. They're asking questions for a reason, right? The whole idea I'm doing this is to interact with my customers. Why else would I be doing this, right? 100% with you, and I see that all the time as well. You're either posting an ad up or you're posting something and you're not even responding to what the people are commenting, good or bad, right? Good or bad, at least it engages a conversation.
So let's talk about some of those conversations, because I think that's actually what the goal is here. The goal here is not just to engage and create attention, but also to actually start conversations.
Sure.
So how do you start that conversation? Do you keep the conversation within your post? Do you kind of transfer the conversation over to Messenger? Like, what's your strategy there as far as communication?
Well, that's where it's interesting, because as you know, Messenger, you can't message somebody from a business page unless they message you first, right? At least I don't know a way of doing it.
No, it's true. It's true.
So a lot of it is, a lot of it is I have to, I engage on the Facebook page itself, and then hope that they're going to message me, or I'll say, DM me or whatever, you know what I mean? But it's, even if it comes down to a price, for some reason, people are scared to enter a price on there. Somebody's asking me how much that Corvette is or how much that Escalade is. Well, why are you scared of answering that question? It's online anyway. People can go find that regardless, right? So anyway, backing up to what you're talking about. No, I all the messages come in organically. They're messaging me, asking me the question. So, but it's interesting because I'll do a video on an Escalade or a Z06, and I know not everybody, that's not the market everybody's in. They might be interested in a Cruise, but they're asking me about the Z06. And the reason I'm answering that question is because it's fun, because I love it. And they're getting to interact with me and having like maybe a little bit of a social media relationship with me, right? So they're getting
100%.
They're getting comfortable with me, so that they will message me. I mean, I've had people. It's interesting because I've seen, there's a pretty cool thing, obviously, in Facebook, and you can see when somebody does message you, it says on there how long they've been following you. And a couple of my last sales, people I didn't even know had been following me. They haven't commented. They're those, the people that watch but don't comment, right?
Yep.
And,
I'm like that, unfortunately. I'll admit, I'm the first one. I'm
a lurker
like that.
A lurker. Yeah. So I've had 3 or 4 sales come from people that I've looked, and they've messaged me before they came in, and they're interacting with me on Facebook first. And 3 or 4 months, I've never talked to them, never interacted with them. And Jeff, I want to come in to see such and such. Yeah, cool, right on, right. And I see that they've been following me. So that goes back to the people who quit so quickly. You have to develop it. Like it takes time. It takes time. That's all there's to it.
It does. It takes time. And so then that's another great point that a lot of salespeople out there need to understand, that this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. And you need to find that pace, that routine that we were kind of talking about. And you need to continue to maintain that and just continue to run your race. You kind of put the blinders on, and just ignore any negativity, which I don't see a whole lot anymore, to be honest with you. I mean, there's still some out there, but I don't feel like there's a lot. I remember we talked about one recently.
What? The thing I found funny about that, and I think it was Gary Vee that said this, it was super interesting, super true. He goes, you got to feel sad for those people. If they're taking the time to sit there, to watch your comment, and then not only to watch your comment, but to comment on it, man, like what kind of life are you living? Don't worry about those people. It's, it's everybody else that you're trying to reach. So, but you're right, actually, it's something I never even thought about, but I guess it depends on the format. I notice a lot more negativity on YouTube because it's a lot easier to be incognito and behind the scenes. LinkedIn, it all that much, again, other than maybe an exception, and Facebook is getting better that way too. So yeah, that's why I didn't do it in the first place, and I haven't got much of that negativity. So it's awesome. Yeah,
Because I think a lot of people begin to realize how difficult it actually is to make content. That it's
absolutely.
not just, I mean, not everybody will just hit the red button and get it started, right?
No,
So
right.
going back to engagement, I think obviously it's key that you're engaging on your own social efforts and your own social content. But
Sure.
another thing, Jeff, I see you a lot of is that you're engaging in the conversation in everywhere. It's not just your content that you're engaging in the conversation. You're trying to be a part of the conversation in a lot of other places as well. And how's that working out for you?
Well, I met you because of that.
That's true. Yeah.
It's really, it is part of it. And I tend to gravitate to the people who I feel like I'm learning from. And you want to talk about content, man, you blow me away with the amount of content you do. But the cool part is it's not fluff, right? And that's
No.
something I've had to learn by watching you is it's great to put a ton of content out, but not be fluff, right? And
Yep.
what I've loved about your content is it's so consistent and it's always out there, but almost every time I'm like, man, that makes sense. That's a great idea. You know what I mean? Like, so those are the kind of people that I've been commenting on because they provide me value, and I want to let them know they provide me value, right? I mean, that's it's something I'm interested in. I'm as much as interested in learning the things that you're teaching or that these people on LinkedIn are teaching or speaking to as I am about the product that I'm doing, right? So
because you're a consumer at the end of the day too. Like,
absolutely.
you don't just create, but you also consume,
Correct.
So I mean, it's no different than a potential customer seeing your piece of content and wanting to engage with you on what that Escalade was, or that new, what was it again? AT4? Is it AT4?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
AT4. Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty badass looking truck, I'm not gonna lie.
It is.
What's funny, I was actually talking, after I watched that, I think I was in the car and I looked over at Austin, the guy, my assistant that works with me, and I said my first car I ever sold was a 99 Chevy Silverado Z71.
Nice.
Yeah, it was extended cab with a longer bed,
Okay.
and it was like the first one on the lot. And I remember because it was almost like a brownish champagne looking kind of
Yep.
color, and it was just like, I mean, it was an expensive truck. Like, it was one of the more expensive trucks on the lot,
Yeah.
right? Had
Yeah.
leather, had all this stuff, right? It was like,
Nice.
it was like the first day I showed up, it was like one of my first customer I ever had. And here I went and sold this overly expensive truck. But anyways, I digress. But no, I mean, I think what I want to start to get into now is that, okay, so now you've taken all this time, you put all this effort in, you created this content, you created this routine, you're engaging with people that have engaged with your content, you're engaging with others and creating conversations and creating online relationships. All right. How is this translating to your floor level, that sales floor level engagement?
You know what's funny? It's just really ramped up in the last couple months. I've done a couple things to try and get creative and get my name out there even more. I don't know. You might have seen a little shout out I had from Mr. Tom Arnold.
Okay, fine. Let's talk about that. How the hell did that come about?
I can't reveal all of my secrets, Jason.
I was just like, I'm like, what was that? I was like, for a second there, I'm like, wait a second, is that actually Tom Arnold? I'm like, age has not treated him well, but then I was like, no, but that's Tom Arnold. That really is. I'm like,
yeah. And, I mean, the prime reason I did something like that was simply because it was different and it got people talking about it and people wondering what the hell, like locally, even, I'm sure some people at GM I've heard that we're talking about it, wondering what the heck, like, where did this come from? And then
have you put any ad dollars behind that, by the way?
Pardon me?
Have you put any ad dollars behind that?
No.
Oh my God, I would in a heartbeat.
I'm thinking about
just because it's funny. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
That's the best part about it. It's just entertaining. It's not boasting. Well, he is a little bit, but it's in such an entertaining way. It doesn't really matter. It's Tom Arnold.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it's funny though, because that's one of the things I pride myself on is my page has come so organically. It's I actually looked at it just to see, and I've spent less than $100 if we don't count like the odd ticket giveaway contest, which I'm getting from my dealership, which is nice.
Yep.
I spent less than $100 to grow my page to where it is. And to be fair, I have piggybacked off our main page, so I had a good head start that some people don't necessarily have.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's why you asked if I boosted. I'm like, no, I didn't really, and I think there was 7,000 views or something like that on it. So it wasn't too bad. It wasn't gangbuster or anything like that, but it was okay.
No, so you're getting. So how is that translating then into the store? I guess that'd be the next question.
Yeah.
Are
Sorry.
you
So,
like, how do you, are you able to track it? Are you asking people?
well,
Are
and
people literally coming in asking for you? Like, what does that look like? Just, I'm
so
sure.
that's the interesting issue, right? Is that I know that I'm getting sales because I have people messaging me or people coming in because of it specifically. But it's really hard for me to track exactly how many, right? And not only that, but because we live in a small community, some of the people who are following me or watch my content have had the same salesperson at my dealership for 15 years or whatever
Sure.
it is. They've come in though, and I've heard this from different salespeople. I've come in and bought a vehicle from them because they saw a video I did on a Cruise or a ZR2 Colorado or whatever it is, right? So I hope my dealer principal is happy because I'm bringing business in that way as well. But yeah, over the last few months, to say that I don't get at least a couple of sales over the last few months, every month, specifically due to that, creating my own leads, I'd be selling myself short because I've been getting at least a couple of sales. But it's so hard because there's no, or at least I haven't figured an exact way to quantify that, right? Because I typically try and ask everybody, well, how'd you hear about me? If they just came in randomly and asked for me, of course, that's a pretty given, right? So
I definitely got some strategies for you. I'll share some
okay.
strategy for you later with that one. But I definitely, because I think there is, and it's amazing what you've been able to do, being in this. You're in a good small market, so organically you've really been kind of able to own this space. I would typically recommend salespeople that as they start to get the routine into it, that we do start to put some ad dollars behind it, just because where we are, especially where we are here in the GTA, there's so much message out there. It's like we're going to have to spend a few bucks to kind of cut through the clutter.
Sure.
You guys are in a great space. I can't imagine there's probably a lot of your type personalities at any of the other dealerships in your area, right? So I love what you're being able to do there. So it sounds like maybe 10-15% of your sales are coming directly from this.
And growing. Yeah.
And growing.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if you've been watching, like I said, you've been out there for 18 months. And so you've seen this just kind of continue, increase in it too.
Yeah.
But I also think what it's going to help, and you're going to start seeing this over the next, I think, 24 months, is also the retention element of it.
Oh, that's 100% part of the
your name is out there so much.
Yes.
So okay. So let's go there, because you've been selling cars for the last 6 years. You've been doing this for the last 18 months.
Yep.
So how has this been affecting kind of that retention element for you?
That is another prime reason why I even did this in the first place, that a lot of people don't see, is that I'm constantly in the face of, like, a lot of people that are commenting are people I've already sold to, right?
Yes.
So maybe not so much here as there would be in a GTA area. You walk into a dealership. I think I did a video on LinkedIn not too long ago about this, and you walk into the dealership and it might be 3, 4, 5 years since that person bought that vehicle, right? And if you're not constantly calling them, even sending an email, your face isn't there, right? So they'll walk in, they could be, in their 70s and go, who did you deal with? I don't know, the guy with glasses, or the girl, or the tall guy. You know what I mean? Like, they don't remember your name, but how many people are now going to remember me? We've created this relationship. I think those people would almost feel guilty. Some of those people would feel guilty to go somewhere else, right? Because
they should. Because you've created this brand equity. You've created this exchange of trust. There's a relationship that you've created there. So is that a part of your strategy then? Like, as you're selling vehicles, you're not just kind of congratulating them on the sell, but also inviting them and welcoming them into your personal GM style community?
Yeah, that's 100%. I just posted a little frame up on my desk the other day, and I think you may have seen this, where I have my social media platforms on there, because there's customers I've dealt with before that might not even know that I'm on there, because it's not the first thing on my mind. Hey, I'm on Facebook. You know what I mean? I don't talk to them about that, but if they're sitting there for a couple of seconds and they see that, they might add me on there, and we can have that connection, going forward. And it's so funny, because I'll sell somebody a Silverado, and every time I post a Silverado post of some sort, that person, a lot of those people are commenting on there or liking it, because they're just, they feel like they're part of something now, right? I know it sounds silly, but it's true. And there's no way that if they're looking for another Chevy or another GMC or Buick or Cadillac, why would they go somewhere else, right? We have a relationship. It's like buying from a friend from that point on.
And I think what's interesting is that this is not necessarily a new strategy.
Not at all.
I mean, I always remember working with that one salesperson or those two salespeople that, had been in the dealership for 20 years. right? They didn't even work at the dealership full time. They showed up at the dealership, 2, maybe 3 days a week. And when they did show up, it was nothing but appointments,
Right.
but they had sold so many cars to so many people over the 20-year stretch that they had, and they were very, very good about maintaining relationships with the technology that was available to them at that point in time, which was, snail mail and, the written letters and phone calls. And that was it. Right. And then just, trying to be a part of people's lives and relationships.
For sure.
It's no different. You're able to fast track the crap out of that with technology today.
Yes.
But it's not any different. You're not only putting the content out there to acquire customers, but you're also putting the content out there for your existing customers, and you're maintaining that.
100%. And, it's funny because, where we live in Sault Ste. Marie, you don't, and anywhere, but I mean, I'm doing it from a way to get people to come in and look for me specifically, right? Because we don't have a ton of floor traffic here. I don't have that revolving door like some places in Toronto where there's just consistently amounts of different people coming in and coming in, right? So that's the reason I'm doing it, not only again to retain those people, but is to create my own leads so I have those people to retain, right?
Yes.
Waiting for the up bus in Sault Ste. Marie just doesn't work because you don't have that many people, and we're on a rotating schedule where you sit at a certain area in order to talk to a customer even, right? So we have like an honor system kind of that way, right? We're not vultures and don't just go and tackle somebody. So I'm like, you know what? If I can figure out a way around this and get the customer to come through that door right to my office, that's what I'm trying to achieve. So,
and really at the end, when we break down a typical salesperson's day, right, it's not for a lack of time. Because like you said, we spend a lot of time staring out that window, waiting for that up bus to show. There are tons of opportunity to actually sit there and create the content. Now, here's a strategy that I, would like to share with people out there that are, the salesperson they're thinking about that they want to get into this. It's like, this is what they've been wanting to do. And it's just kind of how that gets started, right? I think the first thing first, you have to actually create a goal objective for yourself, right? If you're typically seeing 40 people a month, or you're seeing 140 people a month, all right, you need to actually know how many people sit in those seats in front of you every single month. And you need to measure that, right? And the goal is to simply increase that. Because you're right, a lot of times it may not be, someone's not going to come in directly say, hey, I watched an Escalade video and now I'm coming in to speak to you, right? There's a very holistic approach to what drives people in. That could have been one source of information that they consumed that drove them in and talked to you. But it could have been, Bob in the cubicle next door, to him, that was talking to his aunt's sister's brother who just bought an Escalade and overheard him on the phone talking about how amazing it was. It's just, there's so many different sources that will drive someone to make a purchasing decision. The goal is that you are at least one, or if not multiple of those sources, right? So once we define who that audience is that you're trying to target, then we can actually start creating creative specifically for that audience.
Okay. Yeah.
And then once we start creating creative for that audience, then we can actually start measuring the engagement off of it. Sure. And that's kind of no one different than what you have done yourself. You have you put truck videos out there, right? You saw that they engaged well, and you start to start to move your direction, moving your content over to the places that have the most amount of value to you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. 100%. There's no hiding around that. That's for sure.
The cool part is it's actually translating. It's really coming through the door. It's being there, right? And the people that do come through the door, how is it? Does it feel like there's a little bit of a foundation already created?
Yeah, the guard's let down, right? Because since forever, we as salespeople have this reputation of being this sleazy used car salesman, right? Or that we're not real people, or whatever it is. And I think that that's a massive thing. So not only, yes, it's a great point you make, and I guess I didn't really just sit down and think about that, but they have this. It's almost like a trust for me already. Like the guy knows what he's talking about. Hopefully that's translating in my videos, right? And that I'm funny and I'm an easygoing person or whatever. I'm hoping that stuff translates through my videos, whether it be a product video or just a fun video, right? And yeah, you can immediately tell. If I can just use an example, a week ago, it was a used vehicle that I sold, but got an email from somebody, and the last name was a similar last name to another one of my clients. So my natural assumption was that he was, a brother or a cousin of that customer. Anyways, we arrange it. He ends up coming in. We start talking, and then at one point I say, just out of curiosity, are you related to so and so? No, I've just been following you on Facebook, right? And so, but he had this. It was weird because when he came in, again, I thought he knew this other person I sold to, similar last name, not a super common last name. But it was like, hey man, how's it going? Like, it was just super chill, super relaxed, super like he was a buddy that I'd known for years, even though I never met the guy in my life, right? And I think that 100% translated because I could kind of tell from this guy's personality, he normally would maybe be a bit more standoffish. So yeah, I think that works massively in my favor, or anybody's favor if they would, do the same thing, right? So
No, 100%. And look, and that's just another perfect example of why salespeople need to stop making excuses and just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the bloody time, we have the freaking technology. I mean, it's sitting in our bloody pocket for crying
Yes.
out loud. Like, we don't need full production, even though it's nice to have production sometimes. Don't get me wrong, but it's creating that routine, right? It's creating that routine, making that commitment, developing out that content specifically who your audience is going to be, being authentic in that content, and that's
Right.
really what that customer really consumed from you was the
Absolutely. I believe
felt that they felt connected to you or felt very comfortable with you because just how authentic your content comes out. Like, you got passion. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like you're having to talk about this used car. You're having to talk about this, you have some legitimate passion that comes out, and that's infectious. Like, people want to be a part of that passion. So they come in and they approach you.
Right.
Jeff, man, you've been crushing it. And, I really appreciate what you're doing. And thank you so much for taking the time, to jam with me today. For people out there that would love to connect with you and kind of follow along in your journey, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on here. I've been pumped. I've been super excited about this day, to be honest with you. Obviously, a lot of things we talked about, I'm on just about every format of social media you can think of. On Instagram, General Motors Jeff. YouTube, General Motors Jeff. I'm on LinkedIn, General Motors Jeff Hunter. And then currently on Facebook, maybe changing soon, but at least as of right now, I'm Jeff Hunter at Prouse Chevrolet. Jeff Hunter Prouse Chev on Facebook as well.
Awesome. Hey, man, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you jamming with me today.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Thanks.
We covered a bunch of great topics today. What stood out most to you? Be sure to let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to like the post and share it to keep the conversation going. You can follow Jason on all social media platforms by following Strategy with Jason. You can find him pretty well everywhere you can share content. I hope we were able to get you thinking. And until the next time, have a great day.